One text. That's all it took to end 12 years of marriage. I think it's best we go our separate ways. I've already filed. The money was mine anyway. No warning. No explanation. Just a wiped-out bank account and silence. My name is Nadia Jones. I used to believe I had the kind of marriage others envied. I met Jake in college, he, charming and ambitious. I was cautious but drawn to him like a moth to a flame. We built a life together, brick by brick, dream by dream, until one day, he demolished it all with the flick of a thumb. We had just bought our first house. I had left my job to help him launch his business, pouring in not just money from our joint account, but time, energy, belief. I was his cheerleader, his secretary, his wife. In return, I thought I was his everything. Until I got the text. It was a Sunday morning. I was making pancakes. The kind Jake used to beg for, extra crispy on the edges, blueberries mashed into the batter the way his mother used to make them. He'd left earlier to hike. My phone buzzed on the counter. I wiped syrup from my fingers and opened the message from Jake, expecting something mundane. Maybe he wanted coffee. Maybe he'd found a new hiking trail he wanted to show me. Instead, I read. I think it's best we go our separate ways. I've already filed. Don't try to contact me. The money was mine anyway. I reread it 3 times. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Some cruel joke. But then I opened our banking app. The balance blinked back at me, $12.47. Every cent gone. He hadn't just left. He'd erased me. No warning. No conversation. Not even a final fight to puncture the silence. Just a text and an empty bank account. I stood in the kitchen, paralyzed, the sweet smell of burning batter filling the air around me. A thick, blackened pancake stuck to the pan behind me, but I couldn't move. I sank to the floor, knees drawn to my chest, arms wrapped tightly around myself, as if I could hold my pieces together with sheer will. I remembered how we met in final year at college. Jake was leaning against a bookstore shelf, flipping through a copy of The Art of War, pretending to be deep. I was young, naive, believed in love and happy ever after. Then I was still mistaking confidence for character. He asked me to coffee that day. 3 months later, I moved in. By the time I realized how much I'd given, how quickly I'd unraveled my independence for his convenience, it was too late. Jake was tall, had blue eyes and intelligent. He always had sweet words and a charm I couldn't resist. I gave Jake my savings when his app launch failed. Took care of his dying mother while he networked in Dubai. I put my dreams on hold for him. Laughed when he said prenups were bad vibes. Believed him when he swore we were a team and I was his everything. Until the moment he disappeared like smoke. Taking everything with him, including the version of me that trusted people like him. For 3 days, I didn't move. Friends texted, my sister called, I ignored them all. But silence eventually morphs into something sharper. It was grief, yes, but also anger. I had sacrificed everything for him, quit my job, distanced myself from friends, molded myself into someone who would make him shine brighter. Jake wanted me erased. Forgotten. But I would not give him that satisfaction. At first, I planned something simple, tell everyone what he'd done. But narcissists don't die by truth, they thrive in twisting it. He'd spin it. He always spun things. No, I needed something deeper. I wanted to take back what he stole, 10 years of deceit, my power, my name, and everything he took from me. And I knew exactly how to do it. I was a woman informed and intelligent, I think Jake forgot that part and underestimated me. I was going to teach him a lesson. I remembered the files he kept on his laptop. The shady offshore account he used for business protection. How many times had I helped him sort receipts, organize expense reports he never filed, watched him type in passwords he thought I didn't notice. I had archived emails forwarded to my own inbox years ago, automatically, silently, back. But it wasn't just the offshore accounts. There was that one deal. The one he thought I'd forgotten. The one he laughed about once after too many whiskeys, whispering something about cutting corners to stay ahead. It was a shell contract, fake invoices sent to a non-existent supplier in the British Virgin Islands. Jake told the board it was for specialized tech support from a third-party vendor. In reality, it was a paper trail for laundering investor money, money meant for product development that never existed. I hadn't understood it all back then. But now? I pored over the documents with fresh eyes, cross-referencing names, dates, wire transfers. It was all there. Signed under his name, processed through his company accounts, and filed under a dummy corporation with a name eerily close to ours, just different enough to avoid suspicion. One whistle to the regulatory board and he wouldn't just face a civil suit. He'd face criminal charges. I wasn't just a woman scorned, I was dangerously patient. I didn't rush. That's the thing about real revenge. It simmers. Quiet, undetected, beneath the surface until the heat turns unbearable. Until it boils over. I waited until he thought I'd disappeared. Weeks passed. I moved into a friend's spare room in a city far enough away that no one would casually run into me. I got a job at a local coffee shop to keep my head clear and my hands busy. The pay was crap, but every latte I poured grounded me. Every shift where I wiped counters and handed strangers their change reminded me that I was still here. Still standing. Still dangerous. And I watched Jake. Online, of course, his social media was curated like a self-help cult leader's. Hard work pays off, he captioned a photo of himself in front of his new Audi. Surround yourself with loyalty, he wrote, tagging his new girlfriend, the one he was probably cheating on already. The night I got the email and PDF of the divorce filing attached, I didn't scream. I have already buried my emotions and feelings I had for him. The day I opened my secret email folder and reread the documentation on that fraudulent deal, the fake vendor, the forged signatures, the offshore trail, I smiled. Just barely. Just enough. Because I finally knew what power felt like and I was going to use it. I contacted a financial crimes attorney anonymously. Not to represent me, God no, I wasn't paying anyone to be my mouthpiece. I needed intel. Legal boundaries. Leverage. The attorney walked me through whistleblower protections. Turns out, if a tip leads to prosecution and recouped assets, you can earn a percentage. A big one. But that wasn't my endgame. Money wasn't the prize. Ruin was. I printed everything. Redacted my name, scrubbed metadata. Then I contacted Jake's company board of directors anonymously through a secure submission line their corporate compliance office touted on their website. I attached the files. Subject line, urgent, evidence of corporate fraud by CEO. I watched the email send. I closed the laptop. And I waited. The next 2 weeks were a blur. News broke slowly. First a press release that Jake had taken a temporary leave to address personal matters. Then, a leaked story on an anonymous financial blog about internal investigations. I knew he'd try to deny it. Knew he'd spin it. But the numbers didn't lie, and the signatures were all his. Jake called me 3 days later. Of course he did. He left a voicemail, tight voice, clipped breathing. "What the fuck did you do, Nadia?" I didn't answer. I listened twice. Saved it. Smiled. Then came the messages, first frantic, then furious. "We need to talk. Don't make this worse than it has to be. You've misunderstood everything." I didn't misunderstand a damn thing. I understood exactly what he was. What he'd always been. And now, so did the people who signed his paychecks. When I didn't respond, he widened the net. Jake called my sister, pretending to be remorseful. Told her it was all a huge mistake, that he missed me. That I was acting irrational. She blocked him. Jake messaged my old roommate from college, someone he hadn't spoken to in years, asking if she knew where I was staying. Jake was desperate. He even called my old colleague, saying he just wanted to check on me and hoped I was okay. She called me afterward, confused but kind. I told her not to worry. That I was fine. Better than fine. He was unraveling, and I was watching him do it from the quiet safety of my apartment, surrounded by cheap takeout containers, a bottle of wine, and a growing sense of peace. Every call Jake made only made him look more erratic. Every move he made now happened under scrutiny, from his board, from the press, from the federal auditors quietly building a case I had started. This wasn't just vengeance. This was architecture. A slow, intentional dismantling of everything he built on my back. And I hadn't even begun to speak. The real moment of satisfaction wasn't loud. It didn't come with fireworks or confetti or some courtroom slam of justice. It came in the quiet rustle of an envelope sliding through my mail slot. A letter from the SEC, thick, formal. Not just an acknowledgement. An actual thank you. They'd begun formal proceedings. The case could take months, maybe years, but it was real. It was happening. I read the letter 3 times, fingers trembling. Not from fear. From relief. From vindication. And then, another envelope, this one from the bank. The joint account he drained? The one he'd thought he'd buried under a pile of technicalities? Turns out, siphoning marital funds post-filing without disclosure is legally murky, especially when the funds include business and shared assets. The bank had frozen the account. Half the funds were restored to me automatically. The rest? Held in escrow, pending further investigation. I laughed out loud. I couldn't help it. After many weeks of numbness, it felt like being touched by the sun. Then came the fallout. Jake lost his job the following month. I didn't hear it from him. I saw it in bold black text, glowing at me from my phone screen at 10:04 a.m. Tech startup CEO resigns amid allegations of financial misconduct. With his photo. Facts. Cold. Clinical. Damning. I clicked through to read the article, and then the comments. People speculated, gossiped, tore him apart. He always seemed shady. I heard he took money from investors, too. So much for visionary leadership. Jake's new girlfriend? The one he'd gone Instagram official with before our paperwork was even finalized. She unfollowed him that same day. Deleted every post. Removed the hashtag #PowerCouple caption she'd once flaunted. It was like watching a building collapse in reverse. One frame at a time. But my favorite part? Jake's smug LinkedIn post from 3 months earlier. Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. I liked it. Just so he'd know I was watching now. But it wasn't about him anymore. Not really. It was about the girl who gave everything. Who believed so hard she lost herself? Who confused silence with strength, sacrifice with loyalty, love with obedience? That girl had burned pancakes and sat crying on a cold kitchen floor, clutching her phone like it was the last piece of her life still working. I buried her gently. And I rose. I didn't go back to my old life. I didn't want it. I moved again, somewhere quieter, coastal. A town where no one knew my name, or his. I rented a modest apartment with sea blue shutters and let the ocean teach me how to breathe again. I started freelancing for businesses, bookkeeping, financial organization, helping mom-and-pop shops clean up their digital systems. Funny, right? From betrayal to bookkeeping. I made a living off honesty, off transparency, off the very things he exploited. Some nights I still think about him. Not with longing. With disbelief. That I gave so many years to a man who thought I was decoration. That he mistook kindness for weakness. That he thought disappearing me from a shared life could be done with a goddamn text. His name was dragged through every financial ethics blog, every startup whisper network, every investor Slack group. The image of him, the confident, clean-cut CEO shaking hands in a navy suit, shattered. Replaced by whispers of fraud, manipulation, and betrayal. Not just of me. Of his company. His investors. His partners. He emailed me once. Just one line. You ruined me. I didn't reply. I archived it. But I smiled. Because he never understood. I didn't ruin him. He handed me the matchbook the day he sent that text. All I did was strike a flame and walk away. And when people call me resilient now, I don't flinch like I used to. I nod. Because yes, I am. But I'm also a woman who saw every password, read every contract, and understood that sometimes, survival isn't enough. Sometimes, survival looks a lot like revenge.